Rising star Jasmine Crockett. She thinks it's xenophobic to call criminals criminals.
75% of the 238 men that were sent to CCOT have no criminal conviction. The majority of Americans think that if you've been here and you haven't committed a crime, go about your business.
We have a Fox News The 5 panel discussing immigration, something the Trump administration has shown they have no real answers for despite campaigning on so heavily. So if you can, leave us a like on the video. It gives us a big boost in the algorithm, it helps us out and lets us know you enjoy the content, and let's get right into the debate.
Rising star Jasmine Crockett. She thinks it's xenophobic to call criminals criminals.
When you start to decide that just because somebody came from another country, they are automatically some kind of criminal, that does sound kind of xenophobic to me.
Another Democratic congresswoman thinks it's a dog whistle to call bloodthirsty gang members by their gang name.
Trinidad has become a dog whistle to justify every racist, xenophobic action this administration wants to take, particularly against Latino men.
Jesse, we need to stop saying Tren de Aragua now. We might offend the libs.
It blows my mind that to this day, Fox News will play these unbelievably based opinions and just pretend they're embarrassing and that's news. Like, both ladies here are correct objectively. And now what Jasmine was talking about was actually Trump's overarching rhetoric towards immigrants. You know, oh, they're sending their worst, pouring out from mental institutions and how they're all criminals and that kind of talking. But even those who specifically cross the border without proper documentation, calling them illegal or a criminal is a bit of a misnomer. The same way you wouldn't call someone a criminal for getting a speeding ticket or a lawn violation, we shouldn't undocumented immigrants either. They're all just civil infractions, but racism is typically the difference there. But the second lady quickly is also correct. It's become the cop-out for Trump to say, well, these people don't deserve due process because they're gang members. They're MS-13, they're Tren de Aragua, when we know, like, often that's not true. And the last thing I'll say is that none of these people on Fox News, aside from Jessica, has ever called Donald Trump a criminal, despite him being an actual felon. So ask yourself, why is white man felon not criminal, but brown guy civil infraction criminal?
Why do they always prioritize the illegal criminals first?
Because the people that she's talking about are not criminals. 75% of the 238 men that were sent to CCOT have no criminal conviction. New data is out on who's been arrested in Los Angeles. 70% of the people who've been taken in, no criminal conviction. Right now, ICE has, according to their own numbers, they've detained 59,000, 47% of them, no criminal convictions. That's what people wanted, worst first. That's not what they're getting, which is why Donald Trump's approval on immigration has plummeted.
Okay, I've got to take a second to point this out because this is the exact underlying racism I often talk about. The MAGA lady at the beginning of this clip asked the question and said, illegal criminal. Now, that's redundant, but the redundancy there is important. Illegal is what she's saying to pertain to them crossing the border without proper documentation, but criminal is where the dog whistle comes in. It's a generalization, a racist stereotype. It's not much different than white people calling black kids like thugs, right? And it's so ingrained in her that she probably didn't even notice. Subconscious racism can be the most dangerous, but when you're brown, you know, and you're on the receiving end of these kinds of dog whistles, often you learn to pick up on them. But as to substance, briefly, Jessica is exactly correct, and this is something we touch on and cover consistently on the channel. It's just shifting the goalpost, essentially. First, it was all criminals, only criminals. Now, well, they're all criminals, every one of them, right? Because they crossed the border wrong, and then it's any immigrants, and none of them deserve due process, I guess.
The majority of Americans think that if you've been here and you haven't committed a crime, go about your business. We make $25 billion, $25 billion in Social Security taxes that they're paying in. These are people being picked up of job sites out of immigration court. Americans don't like that.
But the majority of Americans do support the president's immigration policies, Dana. And at the end of the day, these are elected officials saying this. Well, Tom Homan can't even live with his family because of death threats.
So crossing the border illegally or overstaying your visa illegally is illegal. And if they want to change that, they're in the perfect position to do that.
It's such a bad argument. It doesn't matter how many times they regurgitate it because the overwhelming amount of border crossings from undocumented immigrants are just civil infractions, not criminal offenses. Logically, most Americans are not considering these people criminals. They're not hardened felons that you need to fear. And I think the number is literally like 4% of border crossings have been illegal and the rest are civil infractions. But Jessica's argument is the strong one here. These people pay massively into social services. They contribute to our economy, both as consumers and taxpayers, adding to our tax base in doing so and our GDP. Deporting them pulls from that and cause taxpayers to fund the deportations. If they pose no threat to Americans, why would we fork that cost? There's not really motivation outside of racism. There isn't much economic or moral theory to push why this is right. And it's kind of why the majority of America is increasingly rejecting this as they see it play out in front of them.